This is SportsJam. I'm Doug Doyle, and today my guest will be a third-time guest on this podcast. It is indeed my pleasure to be joined by 11-time Grammy Award-winning bassist, arranger, and bandleader, and Philadelphia sports fanatic, Christian McBride. Christian, always great to have you on the show.
Doug, you are the man. 3 times. Can you believe that? I'm so honored.
2014, 2023, and now 2026. And along the way, 11 Grammy Awards, including 2 this year. Congratulations. I told you that without further ado, Volume 1 would win a Grammy Award when we spoke this year, and I was right.
Well, thanks for putting those good vibes out there for me, my man.
Unbelievable album. I can't wait for Volume 2. You can't tell us who the singers are going to be in Volume 2 yet, can you?
I can, but it's incomplete, so I'll wait and tell you when it's all done.
Sounds good. So much has happened since the last time you were on Sports Jam, including a very big celebration for one of your teams, the Eagles winning the Super Bowl over the Kansas City Chiefs. Not this most recent Super Bowl, but in 2025, and they trounced the Chiefs 40-22, and it wasn't even that close.
Oh, they broke the Kansas City Chiefs. You know, Kansas City, of course, didn't even make the playoffs for the first time in, 14 years or something like that?
Yeah.
You know, so everybody points to the Super Bowl like, you know, the Eagles broke the spell. But I was in Los Angeles during last year's Super Bowl, and I just, you know, my wife, Melissa, of course, wound up, you know, we have a Super Bowl party every year. And I'm thinking, how cruel is it that you're home in Montclair having a Super Bowl party while my Eagles are playing, and I'm in Los Angeles sitting in some bar, you know, with my manager, Alex, you know. But I'll tell you what, that was such a great feeling to watch them. And like you said, it wasn't even that close.
No. And I know exactly what you're thinking about because I was in a bar watching the Penguins win the Stanley Cup. I'm in a different area. I'm not in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I'm not at home to enjoy it. But it was kind of fun hanging out with everybody else.
Right.
Did you have a good time?
I did have a good time. You know, there's always, you know, Eagle fans travel deep, you know. So in this bar I was in Hollywood, there were actually quite a number of Eagles fans. So we all bonded.
That's great. And this year, there was a lot of people that thought that maybe it was going to be a repeat, but something happened in that wild card playoff game, losing to the 49ers. What do you think happened?
Oh, it happened before that. I really think that the Eagles, I don't know, it seemed to me early in the season that they were winning, but they were winning hard. Like, you know, the games were just being won by a thread, and, you know, they weren't trouncing people like they were the year before, you know, and I was never convinced that they were going to repeat, you know, and I think by the time they got to the wild card game, it was inevitable. I kind of had a feeling, you know, we'll see what happens with the new offensive coordinator. A lot of things got put on Kevin Patullo. I don't know, you know, I think for the years that Jalen Hurts has been a starter, I think he's had a different offensive coordinator each season. It's incredible how much he always has to adjust to some new coaching style, some offensive play calling. So, like, we'll see what happens this year.
Do you want to see Saquon Barkley get the majority of the calls, or would you like to see Jalen Hurts and the offense open up a little bit in the new season?
I think I'd like to see them open up a little bit. You know, I actually think Saquon had a really good season. He had over 1,000 yards. I think he had like 11 or 1,200 yards. So, I mean, it's not like he had a bad season. He didn't have another 2,000-yard season, but Saquon was as solid as they come, you know. So more of him, and and I also think the AJ Brown drama was a little bit overhyped too, because yeah, he dropped some important balls, but I don't think he was quite as much of a distraction as they made him out to be. I mean, like, this is not even close to like the McNabb Owens drama of 03, 04, you know. So I didn't really like the press trying to single out AJ Brown as a huge problem. I think he was a little problem, not a big problem.
The media tends to do that, don't they? They try to blow it up to have as many stories as they can, and sometimes
Right.
it leads to change. It actually leads to change.
That's right.
The scrutiny over Mike Tomlin and the Steelers has been going on for years, and
Well, I
so
was
that
going to say, how do you feel about that? 19 years, man. No more Tomlin.
I appreciate all the wins and the success, and of course the Super Bowl win. But every now and then, I think it is time to make a change. It is time for a new regime. I just wish. Now I understand that the new coaches from Pittsburgh and all that, but I was hoping for a whole revamp. I was hoping for a young, fresh coach,
Right.
to bring in some new ideas. Where I think they're just going to stopgap for a couple of years
Right.
and hope that Aaron Rodgers comes back for another. But anyway, I usually ask this type of question late in the interview, but I want to start off this question for you. I know that one of your musical heroes, if not the musical hero for you, is James Brown. So if James Brown came back magically today and you could take him to any great Philadelphia sports event in history, what would it be and why?
That's a that's a heck of a question there. That's kind of cool. Well, I happen to know that James Brown's favorite sport was baseball. He was a Dodgers fan, and he always said that it was solely because of Jackie Robinson. He said if you were black in the 1940s, you were a Dodgers fan, you know. And I think for that reason, he was always following baseball. So if James Brown were alive, uh, I would like to see. Well, I don't know, just to kind of get him going. I would have taken him to like the 2008 or the 2009 NLCS, because the Phillies beat the Dodgers both of those years to
Mm.
get to the World Series. So I'd have been like, so much for your Dodgers, Mr. Brown.
And isn't it interesting that your hero is part of one of the most famous sports movies of all time?
Super highways, coast to coast, easy to get anywhere. On the transcontinental overload, just slide behind the wheel. How does it feel when there's no destination that's too far? And somewhere on the way, you might find out who you are. Living in America. Out of house, station to station. Living in America. Hand to hand, across the nation. Living in America. Got to have a celebration. Rock my soul.
Living in America and Rocky. I mean, you had to just. Watched that again, and I still love it. I love the performance. I love the whole thing that was going on. How many times have you seen that movie?
Well, I was a big Rocky fan, so I actually think I probably exited the Rocky train after that one. That was Rocky Four. And I think just after that, I was just so deep into learning about the music and trying to get better as a musician. Rocky Four was about that. It was like, what, 85, 86?
Somewhere in there, yeah.
Yeah, I was head first into my bass after that. But that's a great movie, man. You know, all the Rocky movies, you know, Warren, when I'm on the road with my quintet Inside Straight, Warren Wolf and I are always quoting particularly Rocky 3, because Mr. T's character is Clubber Lang. That's just one for the books. There's so many quotable moments from Rocky 3. It's insane.
Don't get this sucker no statue. Give him guts. I told you I wasn't going away. You got your shot. Now give me mine.
Why don't you get the hell out of there?
Shut up, old man. I ain't going nowhere. And why don't you tell all these nice folks why you've been ducking me? Politics, man. This country wants to keep me down. Keep everybody weak. They don't want a man like me to have the title because I'm not a puppet like that fool up there.
You know, you've got a big mouth, you know?
Why don't you come out and close your bell, boy? Come on. Come on.
It's time, dog.
And a lot of people, when they come to Philadelphia, they have to go up and see the statue. It's like one of the big things.
And we'll see now they can go see the Joe Frazier statue. That's the statue they should have been looking at. You know?
Right. I got to meet Joe Frazier one time, and it was in Newark. Michael Spinks was there with him. It was about a boxing club that was starting up in Newark. And so I got to meet him. Of course, his battles with Muhammad Ali, legendary. How big of a boxing fan are you?
Huge boxing fan. You know, I got to say, there was a specific fight that made me kind of get off the wagon for a little bit, and that was the Julio Cesar Chavez Meldrick Taylor fight, which happened back in '91, I believe it was. You know, Meldrick being a homeboy, he's from Philadelphia. Chavez was undefeated at that time, and Taylor had him. He had the fight won. Chavez knocked him down with 10 seconds left in the final round, and Richard Steele called the fight with 2 seconds left, and like everything imploded because had he let Meldrick, he was up on his feet and he was alert, and Richard Steele called the fight with 2 seconds left, and I think that broke Meldrick Taylor's spirit, and it's like he would have won that fight had Richard Steele let him get those last 2 seconds in. Just let him lean on the ropes for 2 seconds. He would have won. But eventually I wound up getting back into the sport, huge fan of all the guys who were, Roy Jones Jr. I was a huge Lennox Lewis fan. I think he was the last great heavyweight. Anthony Joshua's cool, but for me, Lennox was like the last, like real true great legendary heavyweight. And I love Floyd. I still love the sport. I don't follow it as closely as I used to, but there was one point where I was actually taking boxing lessons myself.
You were?
Yeah. Yep.
So you were okay with people hitting that beautiful face of yours?
No, that's why I stopped.
Oh, I hate it's just a slap in the face, anything. There's no way I could ever have been a boxer.
No. Yeah, I used to do it mainly just for cardio training. And the guy I was training with, funny enough, was also a wrestling instructor. And so I remember after one lesson, Melissa saw this. He said, hey man, I bet you make a good wrestler. And I said, no, I'm not interested in wrestling, He said, let me show you a couple of things. I was like, hey man, no. I'm good, man. And he wouldn't let me leave. He was like, no, let me just show you one thing. And I'm like, dude, come on, man. And he started showing me these wrestling moves. And I was, Melissa was like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm trying to leave, but he won't let me.
For those who aren't familiar, Christian is referring to his wife, Melissa Walker, who not only is a singer, but has been running Jazz House Kids with artistic director Christian McBride for many years now. And it's become one of the top organizations that really teach kids all about jazz and music itself. In fact, you'll see that this Montclair Jazz Festival hat says, with Jazz House Kids on it, produced by Jazz House Kids. It's a wonderful organization. Happened to check out the Christmas party this past year, saw you there, saw Melissa there, but saw the kids performing, and that was amazing. The joy that they not only brought to themselves, but to their families. It was a special night there. And I could see the camaraderie between the artists that you have created in the Jazz House Kids group. I would imagine that's where the great pride comes in. When you see them interacting with each other on stage, you've done something really special.
And not only that, but Jazz House has been around long enough now that we have a generation of our students who are actually leading the new generation. We see people like Isaiah J. Thompson, who's out there doing great things. We see Emmett Cohen, who came through our summer program many times when he was a teenager. Samara Joy was actually one of our teaching assistants one summer. She was still in college, and she said, I really wanted to work for you guys. Zohar and Adam, who are doing such great work now. They're about to have a new album on Mac Avenue Records. They came through our program. So we just couldn't be any happier to see these incredible young musicians going out there in the world and not just carrying on the Jazz House legacy, but the jazz legacy as a whole. It's wonderful to see.
And I love to see the interaction between Melissa and you and the students as well. I want to take you back a little bit. You mentioned Roy Jones Jr. I saw Roy Jones Jr. play basketball in the USBL and Asbury Park's Convention Center when I was doing some PA announcing for the Jersey Shorecats, led by Coach Rick Barry, and who was the opposing coach one of those games, probably one of your favorites, Chocolate Thunder. Daryl Dawkins was coaching the USBL.
Wow.
I can imagine you can still see those dunks and the crashing of the backboard from Daryl Dawkins.
Doug Collins to Daryl Dawkins. Oh, he did it again. He broke it again. He's broken another backboard. That's twice in one season. And the crowd goes nuts. And there's the hoop down on the floor. He just ripped the basket from its moorings. Just tore it loose. Daryl Dawkins has done it again.
Man, I had a Daryl Dawkins poster as a kid. It was one of I had it right over my bed. And I used to look at that every single night. I still remember, I actually should go on eBay to see if I could find it because, like, the memory of, and not only that, I only played one organized sport when I was a kid, and that was basketball. They made me be I was on the White Rock summer camp basketball team. They were like, you look like a good 4 or 5, come on, be on the team. I was like, I'm not really that good at basketball. Back then there was no defensive 3 seconds. So you could just wait in the paint. They would say, hey, anybody comes down this paint, give them an elbow or give them a hip. Don't let them score. I was like, okay, I'm good at that. I'm good at football. So I mean, like, anybody wants to come down the lane, I'll get them. I was like the enforcer. So they gave me number 53 because of Daryl Dawkins. That was my man. He was a huge Philly legend, and those Sixers teams of the late 70s, early 80s. I mean, such characters. Dawkins, the great Julius Erving, of course, who I finally had a chance to meet, Doug.
Oh, good.
Man, it's just that he is just so classy, so elegant, so sophisticated, so cool, man. But Maurice Cheeks, World Be Free was on the squad back then. Kobe Bryant's father, Jelly Bean Joe Bryant.
And Moses Malone too, right? Right at that time.
Moses came. Well, I was so Philly was kind of heartbroken when Daryl Dawkins got traded, but it was Daryl Dawkins and Caldwell Jones. Caldwell Jones went to Houston for Moses, and we were like, Daryl Dawkins and oh man, but we got Moses? What? And of course, Moses went on to help those 82, 83 Sixers become one of the greatest teams in the history of professional sports.
Yeah, what a great team. So, yeah, the last time we had spoken, you hadn't got a chance to meet Dr.
Right.
J. So now you have that's off your bucket list. I don't know if there's still been any other player in the NBA. I mean, you have your Michael Jordans, you have your LeBron James and things like that, and you have the Iceman, George Gervin, and
Yeah.
you have super players like that who just made everybody go, wow. But I don't think anybody taking off from the foul line has had an impact from like any other than Dr. J, right?
he was the first one to do it. You know, when Jordan did it, he expressed that this was his tribute to Dr. J. He's like, hey, I'm going to do like Doc, take off from the foul line, you know. But yeah, Doc was the one that he was Bird,
Yeah.
like Charlie Parker. You know, he started the whole thing, man.
And University of Massachusetts, number 6, Julius Erving.
And he has a connection to Philly, New York, and New Jersey, and
That's
he's got
right.
and he crosses over from the ABA to the NBA. So really, he is the ultimate legend when it comes to the game of basketball, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, oh the ultimate legend, and still a great ambassador. You know, watching him on the sidelines this weekend during the All-Star game, you know, sitting with the Obamas, it was beautiful to see that the Obamas were almost much more in awe of him than the other way around. And I know the awe was pretty great from Julius's standpoint as well, but they knew who they were sitting with.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a great point because we're, just like we're fans of your music, you're fans of great players, and there's always been this synergy between music and sports, and it's really one of the reasons why I started this podcast. But
Yeah,
I remember when Jimmy Heath was joined by Monty Irvin on this show, and they talked about how at that time black entertainers were all going through the same kind of circuit. And they talked about going
right.
to see Ernie Banks in Chicago, and there's Sarah Vaughan sitting at the bar at the
That's
tables,
right.
and they're all fighting for her attention.
Right.
They share that same experience.
That is absolutely correct. There was no sort of separate celebrity lane for whatever medium you were in. Like, you know, back in those days, black athletes, black musicians, black writers, black teachers, they were all in the same circles all the time, you know, and black comedians. I don't think that's really the same anymore. You know, it's like everything's kind of separated now. I mean, you do get that sort of those disciplines crossing every once in a while, but I don't think it's anything like what it was back in those days. Like um, speaking to a lot of older musicians, one thing I love studying the history of is comedy, because before the era of comedy clubs, most comedians got their starts in jazz clubs. So when people hear stories about like, oh, you know, Richard Pryor was really great friends with Miles Davis, you know, Lenny Bruce was really great friends with Cannonball Adderley, you know, it's like a lot of people don't understand, like, Flip Wilson hosted the Newport Jazz Festival one year. You know, it's like because comedians were always in jazz clubs, you know, and so uh, I wish that could come back again, where like no matter what medium of entertainment or the arts and humanities you're in, you don't have your own separate scene. Everybody's just kind of mingling among each other, you know.
In the NBA, the Sixers right now find themselves 5 games out of the Atlantic Division and in fourth place. There was talk that they, were going to be this amazing squad this year. So far, it hasn't worked out exactly. What do the Sixers need to do to get better?
But I'll tell you what, they're a lot better than they were last year.
Yeah.
So I'm not necessarily disappointed, but I think they'll make a run. You know, like you said, they're only 5 games out from. I think overall they're in sixth place in the Eastern Conference. Looks like the Pistons are running away with it this year. But they're only, like you said, they're only 5 games out from the 3 seed, you know, from Boston. So they still have a shot. You know, there's still second half of the season left. Embiid, I'm crossing my fingers as I say this. When he's played this season, he looks like 2019 Embiid. You know, he's getting a second win. He's looking great. Tyrese Maxey is doing this thing. Paul George, unfortunately, is going through what he's going through right now with the suspension. VJ Edgecombe is. It looks like he may have cooled off a little bit, but there was a point early in the season where it looked like he was going to be the runaway MVP. I'm sorry, Rookie of the Year, and it still could happen. Like I said, we still have the second half of the season left, but I think they'll make a run. They won't win the Eastern. They won't win the Atlantic, but they'll get in a higher seed by the end of the season. And I don't know, but Detroit and New York, the Knicks, they look good.
Yeah, they do. They do. And they've been playing pretty good basketball now for the last couple of seasons, and just a little bit short. If you could take those Indiana Pacers away from them, they could make
Right.
some more noise.
Shout out to our buddy Rick Carlisle, great jazz pianist / NBA head coach. One day I'm going to shock the world and call Rick for a gig. Maybe I'll have him play with me at the Vanguard one year.
That'll be fantastic.
Rick Carlisle and Jeff Tain Watts.
How great would that be? And of course, Tain has his terrible towels up. He's a Steeler fan, so he's always going to be
right.
one of my favorite musicians.
That's right.
Another favorite of mine, since we were talking about the NBA, played for your Sixers. And when I saw him in person, I had never seen anybody with a quicker first step. And that's AI.
Oh,
Allen Iverson. He was worth the price of admission just to watch him beat a double team.
yeah, that's right. That's right. And he is the sole reason Melissa started watching basketball.
I can understand that.
She was never really a super huge sports fan, but somehow she discovered Allen Iverson. And anytime the Sixers came to play, well, at that time, of course, the Nets were still playing in New Jersey. But anytime the Sixers came to town to play the Knicks or the Nets, she's like, "Oh, can we go see Allen Iverson?" And I remember Pat Metheny was also a huge Allen Iverson fan, and I remember Pat made a really great parallel. He says, Roy Hargrove reminds me of Allen Iverson. Just the way they approach their craft. They have so much heart and they're fearless. And so I think Pat nailed that one. Sometimes I see Allen Iverson, I think of Roy.
So that follows into a question then. If you could pick, and your big band is one of the best, and obviously just winning a Grammy Award, but if you could get a team together of musicians for a pickup game, they don't necessarily have to be the greatest basketball players, just people that you really enjoy hanging out with and playing a pickup game. Who would be the other four members of Christian McBride's pickup basketball game?
Oh boy. Let's see. I will go with Ron Blake at the center spot because he's tall. He's got some good hops. So he'd be my David Robinson or my Wembayama. Wynton Marsalis because he thinks he's really good at basketball. I would put him in there. I actually would put Benny Green in there because I don't think he even knows how to bounce a basketball. And so just for sheer comedy, I would put him in there. So yeah, Ron Blake, Wynton, Benny Green. Let me see. I'm trying to think of who the point guard would be. I know there's some good musicians out there who can. Dan Wilson. I would put my man Dan Wilson in there. I don't know if I put him at the point, but he's got some skills. I think I would have Branford coming off the bench. Well, no. Branford has some Embiid in him, meaning that he's either got a knee or a shoulder issue, and it's like he stays on the injured reserve too often.
Still be a six man on this team.
He can still be a six man. Yeah, I don't know. I'm struggling trying to figure out who the point guard would be. Somebody small and quick. Yeah, man. I'm trying to think of who would be Jazz's Magic Johnson.
Well, that's That would be tough, right?
Yeah.
He
I
he
mean, I've never been a Laker fan, but for me, Magic was the all time point.
yeah, well, he changed the whole game. I mean, that
He
you could
changed
be
the whole
that tall.
game.
Those Laker teams, they could just run worthy and just move the ball down the court. And when Kareem got hurt, Magic could
Don't
play
rem- don't
center,
rem- don't remind me.
right? Oh, that's true. That's true. I'm
Think-
sorry about that. I don't mean to bring up bad memories and bad sports results for
Sorry,
you.
we got our revenge.
You did. I did want to talk a little bit about your big band because
Yeah.
you and I had talked about you don't get together that much, but it is like putting together this wonderful team,
Oh,
and
yeah.
and for not being able to play a lot together, you produce this Without Further Ado Volume 1, where you have these great singers like Samara Joy and Sting and Jose James, and the list goes on and on, Diane Reeves. And when you assemble the big band, you have to kind of think like a coach too, I guess, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yes. I actually think you have to think more like it's part coach, part dare I say, political leader. And I'll say it because in a big band, you have somebody who oversees the entire operation, but then there's a section in each, there's each person has their own cabinet, and there's a leader of that section, So even though I'm the band leader, Steve Wilson leads the saxophone section. Michael Dees leads the trombone section. Frank Green leads the trumpet section. Now, when it comes to the real sort of specifics of what they do in that section, I stay out of that. So I just name the leader of that section and say, you deal with it. And then they come back to me and say, what do you think? I'm like, hey, sounds good to me. So I trust my leaders inside of those other sections.
Great leaders do that. They trust their generals, right? They trust who is in charge, whether it be
Right.
military. They have to put their trust in those who work, and that's how the great teams are made. In any, if it's just a regular job, your employees, you have to put your trust in your employees in
That's
order
right.
to make it work. So we just have a couple of minutes left here on this edition of Sports Jam, and you're always welcome back for another edition. But now,
I love talking with you, Doug. You're such a good dude, man.
so the Olympics are going on right now. Are you checking
Yeah.
that out at all?
Absolutely. Melissa and I watched the figure skating events, and it was just stunning. The team from Japan, they were just, they killed it.
Oh, they were, and you're talking about the pairs, right? Where they had
Yes.
had a mistake in the short program, and then were so good in the free skate that nobody could catch them after that.
Nobody could catch them. Yeah, yeah. So I've had a chance to really focus in, but what I've watched, it's been wonderful to see.
We also see that there are times where it's either just a bad break, or it's nerves, or it's just timing. Some of the greatest Olympic athletes have failed when it comes to their big moment. Others, soar.
Right.
Do you ever get nervous? Do you ever, when you go on stage after all these years, or is it just like, I know my role and I know what I can do, and I'm just going to let it rip?
I absolutely. I don't know if I get nervous, but I get anxious because generally it's like, come on, let's go, let's get this over with. No one would ever gather that, but if you could see inside my body like 5 minutes before showtime, I'm going nuts. I'm like a bull. Just like please lift the gate so I can go out and run. But there's some occasions when I get to do stuff that I don't usually get to do. Like for example, when I play with Edgar Meyer, I feel like playing next to Edgar Meyer. That's like, speaking of a sports equivalent, when it comes to playing classical bass or just playing with the bow, Edgar Meyer is Jordan. He's MJ. you know. So when I got to go play a duo concert with him, yes, I'm nervous. Especially when I have to pick up the bow. I'm like, man, this is an insult to Edgar and his fans. So I always want to say I'm sorry just for even reaching for the bow, you know. And sometimes when I work with Renee Fleming, because when I work with the two of them, it's always these sort of hybrid programs, you know, a little jazz, a little classical, a little somewhere in between, you know, and they make it, you know, they're so beautiful because they're like, well, hey, now you know how we feel playing with you when we have to play jazz, you know. I was like, yeah, but you know, I don't know. It evens out, but yes, I get nervous when I play with Edgar.
Well, I guess I understand that because you always have to have somebody that's, you know, that you just have this ultimate respect for.
Yeah.
It makes me think of several years ago. I was speaking to my nephew Mike Doyle, and I said, you know, I have this great jazz bassist on my sports show. This was back in, you know, when we first started to get to know each other. And he goes, boy, I wish that was Christian McBride. And I said, wait, what? That's who it is. You know Christian? He goes, oh, yeah. So then Christian knows this story because Mike and his friends came down to see him when he came down to Pittsburgh. And I'll never forget, their heads were going like this. They were in absolute awe of Christian's playing. And then I took Mike backstage to meet you.
Yep.
He couldn't even say anything because he was, and I said, you know, you are the reason, Mike, that we're here tonight, and we're here with Christian.
Talk to the man, right?
And then he opened up and started to talk a little bit.
Right.
But, you know, he's such a huge fan, and we all are, of Christian McBride. It's always an honor to talk to you. But, you know, through the years, there's this special relationship that I feel that you and I have, but I see it with you, with everybody. You treat everybody the same. You treat them with respect, and your hugs are legendary. And I have to thank you again for joining us today on Sports Jam.
Well, Doug, I will reciprocate that same sentiment towards you, my friend. I love your energy, always have. The jazz community loves your energy. You know, we love how you always stay positive and fun and that beautiful laugh, you know, and it's an honor to be your guest every time, my friend.
Thanks, Christian. Sports Jam is a WBGO News production. You can hear all the past shows by going to wbgo.org/sportsjam or wbgo.org/studios. You can also find Sports Jam with Doug Doyle on the NPR list of podcasts or wherever you hear podcasts. Until our next Sports Jam session, I'll see you at the game.